Bam! What's up? What it do? What it do? Y'all know who this is. At the start of the show, getting ready to make it happen like we do. It's almost that time. Jackie Taylor, what's going on? How are you? Uh-oh, did y'all hear that? Adrian. Hey, babe, what's good? Adrian, are you following the show page so that you'll get notifications when I come on the show page, or you just following my page? Nicole, how are you? What's good in the Florida school system? Enjoying your vacation? Caleb, my longtime classmate. What's good? What's good? It's 6:10. I'm running a little late. I've been doing a little manual labor trying to get some things done. Smokey Joe, what's happening with you? What's happening? What's happening? Uh-oh. I'm still learning how to manually do this. Samiko, when you coming back to the A? Boss lady. What's up, Odessa? Hey, now, alright. I'm still getting in trouble. For those of y'all that's with me on my page, I'm going to need y'all to come on over. Hit that link at the top that says Random Thoughts with DVP. We're going to engage in some conversation, see what's going on in y'all world. Don't make me have to come up there. What's going on, Tammy? Do I need to make a road trip, Samiko? Alright. It's July the 19th. This is Random Thoughts with DVP. I'm your host, DVP. I'm gonna start with a gratuitous door opening. See, I'm not locked out. It's the bathroom. Got the beard going. I need a little cleaning. I just got to share a random fact with y'all. Even though this is Facebook Live, do y'all realize that, totally useless information? TMI. I can't do the show without brushing my teeth. Isn't that kind of crazy? Because it ain't like y'all can smell my breath. Can y'all smell? Y'all ain't got y'all smartphones like that smart as well. Y'all can smell my breath. I just always have to brush my teeth before the show. That's just gotta be like the craziest thing ever. And I'm making a mess. Y'all couldn't see that though. I'm making a big mess. I'm getting a lot of trouble. That's red. I don't even have nothing to clean it with. Act like y'all didn't see that close up for no good reason. Alright. So this show is about reality versus facts. I might as well jump on in there. Oh, but let me tell y'all now, everything been going good. Got a couple of I'm still waiting on the pictures from my magazine shoot. The plan is to share them with y'all, if they're okay. If not, then y'all only hear about them through this little video clip. Oh, but don't forget now, title of the show is Random Thoughts with DVP. I'm here on Facebook Live, and I'm also on YouTube. If you missed the show, you can go to either one. You can go to the Random Show with DVP page on Facebook. Or like I said, look it up on YouTube. So, go on there, check them out, tell me what you think. If you got something you want me to talk about. If you like the show, let me know. If you didn't like the show, let me know. If you like it, tell a friend. Have them tell a friend. I'm trying to get some things accomplished. So that's where I am with that. But what's going on? The title of this show is Reality versus Facts, because just because it's your reality, it's factual in your world, doesn't mean everything is a fact. I want to start off with the latest crazy stuff that's been going on. Let's start with y'all sports fans. I just got to get this part out of the way because I've been in debates for the past 2-3 days about this Colin Kaepernick thing. Antonio, what's good? I don't have a beef. I don't have a beef with anybody. There's some things I do like. There's some things I don't like. I understand though, but I do take this as a fact. These are just my opinions. My opinions are based on my reality and what happens in my world. I saw a post the other day from one of my friends. He said, "Don't judge me by the chapter of the book that you walked on into my life." because you walked in the middle of something, you don't know what got me there. And that was really deep, because that's what we normally do. If we hear something about somebody, and that's what we start judging them or making assumptions that we really don't know most of the times. We base it on how our lives have been and what we think. Now, I'm assuming a lot of y'all are sports fans, because some of y'all I know are sports fans. Y'all heard what Michael Vick had to say as it relates to Colin Kaepernick. And I got my own thoughts and ideas about Mr. Kaepernick and Mr. Vick. Katrina, how are you? Are you working hard keeping the citizens of my esteemed county safe? And it's amazing that Michael Vick said a few things, but the only one that caught hold was him telling Mr. Kaepernick that he needed a haircut. And everybody wanted to jump on him about saying that, Stockholm, he cooning. And it's amazing that out of all the things he said, that's the only one they really picked up on. Now, hey, Miss Weaver, what's going on? In my view, I'm not a big Colin Kaepernick fan. I got what he stood for. I understand that whole thing. And yes, I'm a veteran. And me being a veteran has nothing to do with my stance or me being a former cop. None of that. I'm looking at the totality from my perspective, my world, my Colin made a stance or didn't stand because he felt about, our nation, the way it defends killer cops. See, in that, if you watch my show, if you talk to me, I don't tolerate bad cops. I try to give you a how-to book to go about getting rid of them. But I also realize in doing some of my research that all bad-looking cops are not bad cops. Sometimes you don't get a whole picture because you get a quick snippet, and the snippet shows what it shows. Because, like the saying I said before, you walked in on the middle of something not knowing how anybody got there. So every time you see something that looks inappropriate, doesn't necessarily make it inappropriate. It just meant the part you walked in on was good, bad, or indifferent. I'm looking for a towel because I made a mess. Hold on one second. While I make another mess. Okay. But what Michael Vick did was he gave his opinion from his view. He didn't make it a fact. And Michael Vick did commit a crime. I can't say it was a heinous crime. I'm just going to say it was a crime. Because everybody views different crimes differently. I don't think what he did with the dog fighting or killing was even the worst thing that happened in the NFL. He was, if you ask me, he was a scapegoat for a lot of things going wrong. Dog fighting, I love dogs, but come on. The NFL has rapists, they have killers, they have child molesters, they have wife beaters. Is dog killing really worse than those things I just named? They got drug dealers, they got drug traffickers. Michael Vick was unfortunately surrounded by a bunch of people who only cared about them. But I'm not here to judge that either. But I do know from the court documents and stuff that part of Michael's downfall was his father, who he refused to fund anymore, and decided he wanted to tell on him because he couldn't get a big enough allowance. But that's neither here nor there. Michael Vick did his time, and to get back in, the NFL put him through hoops because he was a convicted felon. So he shared some of his thoughts, but one of the things, Colin, if you look at it, Colin, hey Teresa, Colin isn't that good. And Colin kind of thumbed his nose at people. This is my opinion now. He thumbed his nose at people when Denver wanted him. If you know about football, hey, they were Super Bowl contenders. But he didn't want to play there. But my biggest issue with Colin Kaepernick is he's not even a registered voter. And he's got people going on these stances, and everybody's defending him. And have you noticed how quiet he's been? The only somebody he spoke out against is Vick. Everybody who's defending him saying the NFL is racist and they're not going to support the NFL no more because he can't get a job. He ain't had nothing to say about his ability to get a job. Now, rumors have come up about his worth ethic, about his asking price, that he wants too much to be a backup because nobody wants him to start. Because of the system he runs, he's not capable of doing other things. He ain't said a word about that. But like many of us, he chose to speak out. Didn't name Michael Vick, but he chose to speak out when Michael Vick said something. But why ain't he spoke out about nothing else? He won't speak out about the fact that he's not a registered voter. So even when he was telling people who he wasn't going to vote for, in theory, he couldn't vote for nobody. He wasn't a registered voter. So that part wasn't going to happen anyway. So he was kind of baiting people into a false sense of security, thinking he's the next civil rights activist. But dude, you're not even registered to vote. Hey, Miss Shelter Brown, how are you? How are things in the islands? But Colin is not a registered voter. So if you're not a registered voter, right? But you ain't even heard my whole logic yet, Courtney. But you know, that's my feed is skipping. But that's part of the reason that I like the dialogue. He's not a registered voter. When he had the chance to be somebody, he didn't do it at the height of his popularity. He waited till he became a backup. And the point I'm making is, this is from an employment stance. What's up, boss? As an employer, as an employer of people, you hire people based on a risk-reward system, especially if they're outside the norm. Because if we think back upon our history, 5-10 years ago, if you had dreads, twists, locks, or whatever, that wasn't a corporate look. And a lot of us, when it doesn't apply to me, but even a few years ago, you couldn't be bald because it was, I don't know what it was. Kojak did it, Shaft did it, but it wasn't a popular thing. Facial hair. So as you look throughout, we've made adjustments based on who it is we work for, what it is we want to do. So when Michael Vick said that, no matter how you feel about it, it was Michael Vick's experience that, hey, he had to get rid of his cornrows, his afro, and he had to reinvent himself to prove he wasn't that same thuggish look that corporate had at his time. Now, we've elevated because now we accept certain things. We accept different hairstyles if you dress appropriately. There's certain dress styles that still aren't accepted. Yolanda, yes and no. Yes and no. Some of the things he said, like I said, I don't have a beef with him. I just have a beef with some of his methods and the fact that he won't speak out against other things. He's only speaking out of all things that have been going on up until now, he's only spoken out against Michael Vick. He ain't said when it was said that he wanted too much money, he didn't have nothing to say. When it was said about the read option, and I'm not gonna get big into sports, but there are no read option quarterbacks because they weren't sustainable. Michael Vick proved that you cannot be a second string read option quarterback because teams have to change their whole game plan. And this goes back to the company effect. And I'm gonna use my boss here. Lindsay has a company. He wants a certain look. If you're starting off, his look is going to be what he wants, regardless of how anybody feels about it. If he wants clean shaven officers, which is what a lot of departments want, then if I wanted to work for him and he doesn't know me, I don't have a choice but to comply with that. It's not a slave mentality. It's his business mentality. And it's what you have to do. Now, once I get in his system, if he sees that I'm a great worker, I can push the envelope a little bit. I can have, I can have this. I can have this. It's like, hey, you're a good worker. I'm going to put up with this. And that doesn't change anywhere in America. So when you can't look at the big picture without starting, everybody got to start somewhere. So if you're already on the edge, most employers don't want controversy, especially if the reward ain't gonna get you past the controversy. So it's like Fox News finally got rid of Bill O'Reilly because his risk became greater than his reward. When his reward was here, they kept him. Once the risk kept mounting up, despite how he looked, they had to get rid of him. The system doesn't change. So everything that we see is not as racist as we make it out to be. Some things are just dollars and cents. And we, as black people, we love to harp on things, but we don't ever want to look at the other side or take it into consideration because our facts say everything is racist. Everything. They don't like us because of this. They don't like us because of that. But look at us. And people start naming all these NFL players who have braids or football players who got braids and dreadlocks and yada, 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 yada. But what we fail to realize is, look at mainstream America. Look at what Ice-T did. Ice-T was a rapper, for those of y'all who ain't old enough to remember. Had the long ponytail. He's on SVU. Changed his look. Ludacris changed his look. Method Man changed his look. All these people who had these eccentric hairstyles changed their look to be accepted in mainstream America, not just in their genre. Ice Cube changed his look. So it's not that what Michael Vick said was racist, or to me, even Stockholmers, he made a point that's American driven. Lots of people don't want to accept these realities based on their facts. Yeah, we got this everywhere we go. Exactly. People are hired less qualified people if they're less controversial, because if they don't know who you are, what you produce, you can't get away with this. Understand, this, when I was in the military says you keep it at a quarter inch. I lived that life. When I first went to the sheriff's department, I kept it low. As I became a more valuable player, I started bucking the system just a little bit because I knew that based on my productivity, I could get away with having just a little bit longer than most. Because the sheriff's department has a no shaving policy. They have a no facial hair policy at the time when I started. It's since been relaxed. But you couldn't do this. I had to get a waiver. I think I had to go every 3 or 4 months. I had to go get a waiver every quarter. Then they start taking it for a year. Then they just stopped making me do it. But my productivity outweighed my controversialness. Even though I was very controversial, I was a great worker. That system doesn't change. It's not cooning because people don't like that he said it, because it is a hard truth. Right? Let's see. The NFL is business when it is image conscious. The quarterback is the face. And how many quarterbacks do you see that look like that or act like that? Because they've embraced black quarterbacks. The ones who can make it. And it's not even a racial thing, because there are other quarterbacks who are not of color who didn't make it. And I keep saying, it's not racist. Look at Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow was one of the most popular athletes ever to come out of college. The NFL tried their best, but he couldn't make it. His skill set and the media attention he brought, his skill set was here. His media attention was here. You were going to get people to come to the games to see him. Teams didn't want to lose. So the whole roster spot for a guy who can't help them win, which is the same exact spot Kaepernick is in, it's the same exact spot. I think it's hair part of the process of being controlled by it. I think the hair is part of something that we created. What people don't want to address with Kaepernick is his skill set. His skill set is not productive to starting. He started before. He can't read defenses. The read option quarterbacks are dying. Russell Wilson is one, but he's a read option quarterback who wants to throw first. Cam Newton being the second. He's a read option quarterback who has learned to throw from the pocket. Kaepernick cannot throw from the pocket. So what and I'm saying this as a race, we don't want to accept that Colin is not as good as these two, first of all. So these are the only two teams he could go to be a backup for. In reality, because nobody else is running the read option. Is he one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL? Surely he's not. But the NFL is watered down. Is he one of the top 40 quarterbacks? Maybe. But it doesn't matter what people think of your ability if you can't fit into a system. And all things go into systems. If he fits into if a system wants him to be a drop back passer, he can't do it. So why would an employer take a risk on somebody who can't meet it? Now, if a team was looking for a read option quarterback, aka Seattle, why didn't Seattle hire him? Seattle has Richard Sherman, who has the hair, the attitude, the mouth, the cockiness. He talks about Goodell. They didn't want him. Pete Carroll said all the right things. Oh, yeah, he's the starting quarterback, but we don't even want him as a backup. So people want to quote, oh, see, Pete Carroll said he was a starting quarterback, but they didn't even want him as a backup. Why do you think that is? Let me read yours again. The man got in a press conference. The golden rule is he who has the gold rules. That's the golden rule. And part of his protest of being controlled by the NFL it's his young mind not wanting to change his hair, maybe based on flawed logic, but his way of protest. And it sounds good. And see, again, see, this is one of those things where we're making our fact a reality. Because nobody from the NFL has ever said his hair is a problem. Nobody. And one of the people who I'm debating with was like, well, the NFL should say why they won't hire him. No employer has to tell you why they won't hire you. That has got to be the craziest thing I ever heard. All they gotta do is not hire you. Nobody owes you an explanation as to why they don't hire you. It's their money. It's their money. But what Colin Kaepernick, in my opinion, owes us is, hey, he need to say, hey, my demands aren't that high. I will take a contract that's laid with incentives, pay for play, because him wanting money has keep coming up over and over and over again. He wants starter money, but he ain't gonna start for nobody. So he won't address that. So I'm confused on why everybody's jumping on Michael Vick. I get it, but Michael Vick told a truth. Michael Vick overcame. He had to do a lot to overcome to get that second chance, but because he was a convicted felon. Now, if we're going to argue about a system, why not argue about that system, what Michael Vick went through? Because Michael Vick did not do the most heinous thing around. Michael Vick is a convicted felon, but once again, it's still for killing dogs. Roethlisberger accused of 2 rapes, way more heinous. Way more heinous. Ray Rice hit his wife. Now, if we're going to compare apples to apples, the Giants gave their punter, kicker, whatever he is, a contract after he beat his wife. There's tape on it. Everybody knew about it. Now we can compare apples to apples. Was that a racial issue or was it a competitive issue? Because as a punter, as an active punter, I ain't going to say he's one of the best, but he's okay. I think the issue Michael Vick had, I think the issue with Michael Vick was the messenger. Black people supported Michael Vick throughout his trials all the way because of everything he went through. Michael Vick, bro, it wasn't BS. Michael Vick stated an opinion. It's his opinion, and actually, Michael Vick stated a fact in his world. Now, once again, we don't have to like it, but he gave a fact from his world, and that's why I'm confused on when I say fact versus reality. Everybody's saying, "Oh, it's BS, it's BS," but what are you basing it on? What are you basing it on? We base it on our reality, not a chapter in his world, because we all walk different walks. So, my reality is that yes, there are bad cops, but my reality says yes, there are bad people. All lives matter. Anytime somebody's killed, that should be an issue. The issue shouldn't be because they're a race or anything else. When it's a cop, yeah, like I said, I've said on this show publicly and told y'all how to go about it. And I'm gonna get into the cop shooting in Minnesota soon. But for a man to tell you what he had to overcome, and we saying this BS, well, he overcame and he got a starting position, but because he was never a good quarterback to start with, and he started showing up, we never wanted, except the fact that Michael Vick, as great an athlete as he was never ever a great quarterback. He was a great athlete playing quarterback. But Cap is in the same situation of wanting a second chance, bruh. He is. Because one, and this is why I try to tell people, if you look at the big picture, look at the picture from corporate America. The NFL is about 2 things. 2. The first being money. The second being winning. Okay? Kaepernick was offered a chance to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos last year. They were Super Bowl contenders with the defense they had. All he had to do was take a pay cut to fit into their system. He didn't want to do that. Thumbed his nose at him. Why didn't Seattle want to sign him? If he's a starter, who wouldn't want a second teamer as a starter? Who wouldn't want a backup? Hey, D, what's going on? Who wouldn't want that? But Colin Kaepernick has not answered any of these questions. But if I'm a CEO of a company, why would I bring somebody in to make CEO money to be my backup? That's not logical on any business level. Now, if he want to take less money, then yeah, that's a thought. But second teamers make this, not this. Don't let somebody screwed up system think something different. And this is where we're not looking at, to me, we're not looking at the true bigger business picture. Because you can price yourself out of something by sitting around having a stance and let other people argue for you. But once again, has Kaepernick come out and said anything to anybody other than his subliminal text to Michael Vick? No, he hasn't. He hasn't. He has every right to wear his hair. He does, duh. Right. The NFL hates controversy and distraction. Right. Doug said a lot there, and I if he wants to play that bad, he ain't even came out. Has anybody heard Colin Kaepernick come out and say he wants to play football? Nobody. Has anybody heard Colin Kaepernick say anything other than his address to Michael Vick, which to me is a problem in and of itself, because there, to me, lies a certain level of, and I hate the word coonery, but it's us against us. Michael Vick was just giving the man a helpful pointer like so many people do. Y'all notice that Deion Sanders is on TV? Deion Sanders is very high profile. He's very eloquent, and but he cut his hair. And you want to keep going to that, he's a criminal. Vic, right. And you can say it all you want to, but Kaepernick has not said anything to defend himself other than something about Michael Vick. By the way, need you. Who you talking to, Trina, me or D? So does Kaepernick. He needs to show remorse for thumbing his nose. Okay, understand this. If I offer you a chance to win, and winning is paramount in the NFL, and if Kaepernick showed everybody, all right, I'll shoot you my number, Trina, after the show. Kaepernick showed everybody he wasn't about winning when he didn't want to take a pay cut to go to Denver. Most people will take a pay cut to win the Super Bowl. Kaepernick didn't want to do that. So he's thumbing his nose at the establishment. So some of this ain't got nothing to do with his stance. It's with his cockiness and arrogance. He does not have the skill set. People aren't, there's never been a bidding war for Kaepernick, even before he chose to sit. And that's what we don't want to look at historically speaking. Everybody keep telling me what he did. What did he do? He almost got them there 3 years ago. Almost. But he ain't never got them to the, he's never gotten them to the championship round. He got them to the NFC championship. That was 3 years ago. What has he done lately? Kaepernick doesn't care about being unemployed. Courtney, his cockiness and arrogance came with when Denver tried to get him a job to be on a Super Bowl team. That's where his arrogance came from, and that's what people don't want to accept. I don't know how much you know about. As for Denver, was a top-notch team. Denver wanted him. Denver said, "Hey, but our dollar space, we can only afford to pay you." And I want to say at the time they could only afford to pay him $12 million. Cap said, "No, I'm not going to take less money." He is not better than 6% of the Stars League. I don't know where y'all getting this from. What are y'all watching? What did he show y'all to make y'all think he's better than 6%? He's not better than. He is not in the upper echelon of quarterback, Chuck. He is not in the upper echelon. And we keep wanting to say he is. He's not. But they was gonna let him go. So opting out was just a cute way of saying it, because he made all his money last year. Daphne, are you arguing with yourself? Who went to the Super Bowl against the Ravens? Blaine Gabbert is a system guy. He's making no noise and he's taking less money. Blaine Gabbert, Chuck, was a first-round pick. Have you heard him come out and say anything controversial? Chuck, you played football. When can a second teamer ever bring controversy to a team and stay on the team, Chuck? Tell me a second stringer in any sport that has ever made it being controversial. Name one, Chuck. One. Who played in the Super Bowl? He lost to, what's the guy's name? Sherman. When he went to the Super Bowl, they had a great defense, a.k.a. Trent Dilfer, a.k.a. a ton of other people. He didn't have a great game, Because you go to the Super Bowl, he went to one. And what happened? He fell off a cliff dramatically because the defense started sucking. Patrick Willis got hurt. A couple other defenders got hurt. The defense is what got them to the Super Bowl. Chuck, don't fall into the hype. Chuck, you're a football guy. San Francisco never had a great offense. Never, ever. Hey, Kativa, hey, Ernest. Ernest, you still ain't called me yet about this non-disclosure agreement. Colin Kaepernick, we keep wanting him to be better than he is, like people wanted Vic to be great. Vic was never a great quarterback. Vic was a great athlete playing quarterback. He was never a great quarterback. So no matter how we keep wanting to twist it, and he played on the second team last year, but so did Blaine Gabbert play on the second team. You can't switch him. The non-disclosure agreement about the magazine thing I did where you're supposed to call me. Don't interrupt my show, sir. Boss. Ernest is a boss, okay? Ernest got me into modeling, and I'm going to use Ernest because he just popped up. If Ernest wanted me to model for him, okay? Ernest has his, what do you call your top models? His signature models. Everybody has signature models. Kativa understands she's a model. Signature models can get away with more because they are your headliners. Farrar, an L is an L. If you score 75 points in a game and y'all lose by 3, what does that mean? Nothing. A loser's a loser. And after that, what has he done? Nothing. Nothing. Trent Dilfer has a Super Bowl ring. He threw touchdowns. Y'all keep wanting to stand up for somebody who don't want to stand up for himself. And that's what I'm trying to tell y'all. Colin ain't saying a word about his skill set, his money, because he's already proved he don't want that. And y'all don't understand how the system works. If Ernest say, hey, D, can you be on the show for me? And I tell Ernest, well, I'm going to be in your show if you give me $5,000, but I'm speaking bad about Ernest and his people. Well, I ain't a signature model, first of all, so no matter what look I may have, I'm already playing against myself. So now Ernest say, hey, D gonna want that. He's a diva, but he ain't even a top flight diva, which is where you have Kaepernick. We standing up for him, but once again, Kaepernick ain't said nothing to defend himself against anybody but Vic. Has once again, Farrar, Chuck, can y'all point to anything where Kaepernick said it's not about the money? I will take less for a chance to play somewhere. Has Kaepernick said anything to defend himself against anybody other than Michael Vick? How is he not standing up? Who he got to argue with? Who he got to argue with? He got us arguing for him, while he sits back and says nothing. Nothing. Real fact. Have y'all heard any of his receivers say how great a quarterback he was, how hard he studies, how he reads defenses? He made a statement about cops, about him not being satisfied with that. But when he made it, Seattle offered him a job. They said it was about the money because he wanted starter money. So he has been offered something. Denver tried to give him one. He wouldn't take a pay cut to come over there. Denver wouldn't ask him to Denver wouldn't even ask him to take a pay cut because of his skill set. It was because of the salary cap. 3 years ago. Let's become current now. Let's come up to the 21st century. In the past 2 years, because he was hurt first, and he's still garbage. He's a great athlete. His coach, which coach? Not Chuck, the team killer. He was great up under the brother whose brother's coaches in Baltimore. No. See, I don't have to watch him. I actually pay attention. Harbaugh. He was great under Harbaugh because he needs a specific coach. Harbaugh tailored the team around him. Once he lost that, he lost all his skill set. Now, we can go back and forth at it, but the facts don't change. Somebody gave me his numbers. Numbers are for fantasy football. Only thing that counts in the NFL are these. And once again, if you play sports, Freud, Ernest, Chuck, what's up, Joyner? What second stringer has been able to bring controversy to a team in any sport and stay? Chip Kelly don't even count as a coach in most people's eyes. And that's what I'm saying. Chip Kelly said it. Pete Carroll said he was a starter. Oh, he's a starter in our league. But then offer him a job. So if we look at the message and beyond the message, you can call BS for all. But if I have no respect for Chip Kelly. I got respect for Pete Carroll a little bit. But if Pete Carroll said he's a starter, but they decided to also offer Austin Davis a job instead, come on now. But Cap won't say one about the money, even though that's what the insiders say, that he didn't want to take less money. So Cap could have came out and said, no, Cap could have came out and said, they BSing y'all. It's not about the money. I will take less money just to prove myself. So we sitting here, we arguing for a man who won't say nothing against nobody but Michael Vick. Come on, what? Y'all keep defending somebody who won't defend himself. If I get charged for murder, Eddie Long never said he didn't do it. Everybody else was saying he didn't do it. Eddie Long said he gonna throw his rocks, his stones, his balls, whatever. But Eddie Long never said he didn't do it. Kaepernick has never said, I will play for less money. It's not about the money. Kaepernick ain't said nothing against nobody. Why wouldn't you have respect for Chip? Because he's a shitty coach. He's great for college. He wasn't built for the NFL. Kind of like Saban and the rest of them, but that's a whole different issue. What's the apples and oranges? All I'm talking about is Cap. You can feel how you want to feel about it, and this is where we all have opinions. As a football connoisseur, and I will talk football all day long. I'm not going to make this a football show. Cap is not a top. He's not a top 30 quarterback. He can only run read option. He can't sit back in the pocket. He's got a strong arm, which lets him get away with a lot of stuff. But he can't read defenses. If you feel you're worth more than what they're offering, you're going to turn it down. No, that's what unemployment is. Nah. But he made all his money last year. Wow, what they got to do with respect? That's just... What's got to do with respect? Chip Kelly? Come on. Even Chip Kelly's players didn't have respect for the way he tried to come in and change things and make them college-like. College and NFL are two separate worlds, which is why Tim Tebow was great in college. In the NFL, he sucked. He sucked. And they tried to cater to him. But he still sucked. But he was all-world in college. Which guy? Cap? What he did 3 years ago with a great defense, yes. I'm good with that. But that was 3 years ago. He hasn't done anything. Once he was challenged to read defenses, the truth came out. Who's a bum, Ernest? Johnny, you need to be working hard. And so all I'm saying is, everybody jumping on Vic for stating a reality in his world, which was a fact. And let's get out of the fact that he was convicted. He was. But his facts still don't change. To become a better player. Yeah, Chip Kelly's a bum. I can say Vic what? What about Vic Farad? Michael Vick was probably one of the most electric football players many of us have ever seen. But you know what he was? He was a great, phenomenal athlete playing quarterback. He had a cannon for an arm, couldn't read defenses, but because he could run faster than everybody, and still had that laser. But when he was playing with when he was playing with the Pigeons, nobody could catch the ball but Alger Crumpler. Wasted years. When they tried to teach him how to read the defense, he was a little bit better, but it was so late in the game, it wasn't what he was comfortable with. These quarterbacks don't last. Randall Cunningham, when you get running quarterbacks, they don't last long. So exactly. But now, who runs a read option offense? Who runs a read option offense? So if you're going to bring controversy, and the best offer you got right now is to back up Seattle, Russell Wilson, and people say, oh, he don't want competition, which is crazy, because remember now, when Pete Carroll took over Seattle, they had just traded for some guy, I forgot the guy's name. Russell Wilson wasn't supposed to be the starter. So Pete Carroll, out of everybody, believes in competition. Okay, for all what we call stellar, and you call stellar, and Ernest said Cunningham. Cunningham ain't in my top 20. I ain't gonna say he had a stellar career. He had a better than average career. Is he Hall of Fame worthy? In my mind, no. Did he change the game? No. No. The only running quarterback that had a great effect stopped running, and that was Steve Young. Fran Tarkenton was a running quarterback. See where it got him. Some people say Fran was great. He was okay. He was a scrambling quarterback. Archie Manning, scrambling quarterback. So these are our opinions about how we view players, and these are opinions. Factually speaking, the facts don't change. You can show a bunch of numbers, but the NFL is still concerned with W's over everything else and how much money you can bring them. If you can't do one of those two things, the NFL will spit you out. So, and I'm going to go back to the point. If we're going to argue something and make it racial, argue Ray Rice versus the punter from New York. Everybody know this guy beat his wife at the Pro Bowl, and he still got a contract extension, a raise as a matter of fact. Ray Rice, even though he was on the downcline, never even got a second shot because of the controversy. So the controversy, if you're going to say it, doesn't only strike blacks. The Kaepernick versus Vic syndrome is akin to school days, dark skin versus light skin. Vic stated what he believed from his point. Wasn't Cooney. He said what he had to go through. He just offered a thing what he thought might work for him. When is it that somebody can offer you advice, and because you don't like the advice, you say somebody got Stockholm syndrome? If I say, and I say this religiously, stop using niggas and bitch as in terms of endearment, because they're not, but so many black people do. Am I cooning because I don't want to be called nigga? Oh, look at him. Oh, we've been saying that word for 100 years. We haven't been. So if I point to stuff, people say, oh, you just, since you just did, oh, we've been doing this forever and ever and ever. How is that so? Because your reality is different from mine, so yours doesn't agree with mine, so all of a sudden now, I'm either cooning or I don't know what I'm talking about. See, how you guys feel about certain players is on you. Farad, you way younger than me. So what you see in football versus what I've seen ain't even the same thing. So we ain't gonna never be apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Because I can ask you who the greatest quarterback is. You can ask me. I can ask Ernest. We can ask Chuck. We have all four different opinions, and we're gonna sit there and line our facts up for our argument. Nothing's gonna change how we feel. But how do you factually determine who the best quarterback ever was? Do we base it on Super Bowls? Do we base it on yardage? Do we base it on touchdowns? Everybody has their own personal criteria because there is no set system. So those are our own personal facts. But in a real world, you can only go to the employer. If the employer says you've overpriced yourself, what happens next? Tom Brady, don't start that Joe Montana. The market determines what you're worth, not you. Everybody thinks they're worth $1 million. Everybody. Oh man, how much you? Oh man, I'm worth 1,000. I should be making this. We all have self-inflated egos of our value. But truth be told, if some of us got kidnapped and the kidnapper wanted $1,000, some of us gonna be hostages the rest of our life because we think we worth something, which is what everybody does. Who in reality thinks they get paid what they're worth? Anybody on the show right now? Kativa, Ernest, Chuck, Farad, Courtney. Anybody think they're getting paid what they're worth? Anybody? Anybody believe they're getting paid what they're worth? Because nobody believes they're worth what they're being paid. But you know what? They got this little thing called bills. And it makes us adjust our way of thinking. Colin got his money. A.K.A. Joe Flacco. He had a good run. Didn't finish it off. Got paid for the run. So, when we get back to facts versus reality, whose facts and reality are we using? Michael Vick said what was a fact in his reality. Farad, he said way more than just cutting hair. That's just the one statement everybody want to harp on. He said more than that. But we don't want to get past that because he said something we don't agree with, which happens a lot of times. So, Roy, how many times have you said something I don't agree with? How many times have I said something you don't agree with? I don't agree with Ernest all the time. But Ernest don't care, and he still keep going. And facts do change. Once again, the fact is, as a second teamer, when can you be controversial? You can say it don't matter, but where is he now? And you can say, we're going to say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. Mahmoud, what was his name before he changed it? He got to play after he wouldn't stand for the flag. He didn't get cut that year, but when he changed his name to Mahmoud, his game did start going down. But he was already on a decline. So I think he played, what, 2 more seasons after that? But this is what we don't want to look at, the decline in skill set, which is where Kaepernick is right now. His skill set is declining, but he wants this. Well, since he ain't owning a team, he can't demand this. He can't. Vince Young, why ain't he playing? Vince Young was supposed to be the next great. Skill set, boom. Vince Young was like, I don't understand why I ain't playing. You got Blaine Gabbert playing. Company people told the line. Company people told the line. As outspoken and as cocky as I can be, Ernest will tell you, when it came to this modeling thing, I didn't say a thing. I didn't come in there being arrogant and cocky because I was in a whole new arena. I sat back and I humbled myself because I was trying to learn something. Now, after I get good in this game, I'm going to be a beast for Ernest. But right now, I can't say nothing. These don't change. Changes image will change the way people look at it. That was Michael Vick's perspective. There's nothing that we can do to change Michael Vick's reality. But we all want to jump on him for stating his reality. That's his reality. Exactly. So you walked away from Kitchens because they wanted you to change your look. And that is exactly my point. You're right. Ain't nothing going to change his decline in skills. But we talking about now. It ain't Slim, but stay right there because you too much. You're supposed to be on a random thought page. But anyway, but what we're talking about is the impression. I already went over the convicted felon thing, and that's what I'm saying. Vick still ain't did the worst. Roethlisberger was accused of rape twice. Ray Lewis murder. And it doesn't, because if you can be convicted, if you can be accused of rape and still keep doing that thing, stop going to parties. See, so what y'all mixing as apples and oranges. So, because, please believe, there are felons all around us. Everybody just don't know about it. But he didn't have to change his look, he had to change his demeanor. But if you watch his little interview, Vick said that he had got into himself. Stopped calling his mama, stopped praying, stopped doing all things that got there because he let the money control him. Now, I don't think that happened to Kaepernick, but Vick was stating his world. No, being paid money. So we're a little bit past the accusation stuff. And y'all missing the point. The point is public perception. Ben was a starter. He could get away with a little bit more. Kind of like the dude from the Patriots, Hernandez. As long as he was accused of something, everybody was willing to take a chance on him until he got arrested. That's when his wall came tumbling down. Ray Caruth. Everybody who's been convicted, but before they got convicted, people kept taking a chance on them because the reward was better than the risk, until the risk became murder. Or, what is it? An aggravated felony. So then, ain't too many people worth that. Except for the New York Giants punter, which nobody even talks about because they got us so engulfed in this race war amongst each other about Kaepernick and now Vick. But what about the punter who beaten his wife and got a contract extension? We don't talk about that. That's a fact. No matter how any of us feel about anything I've said with Kaepernick or Vick, the fact is the New York Giants have a punter who beat his wife at the Pro Bowl. They had to move out of the hotel and put her in a secure location to keep her away from him. That is fact. It's documented everywhere. And we talking about Kaepernick and Vick because Vick stated his opinion. A lot of us believe factually that the NFL is racist. But that's my point, Farad. That's what we should be arguing about, is that guy. Is that guy. Not what Vick said. Vick gave his opinion. My opinion about something is just that. Oh, he did change stuff now. He did some humbling things for the Mariners. He did do that. But they just don't talk about that because white people tend to under-publicize things. Oh, but he had to do a lot of stuff now, Chuck. Don't get it twisted. They ain't just give it to him and he said, "Okay, sir, I won't do it again." He did a few little things in the background because his wife had to sign off on some of this. But the point I'm trying to say is, it's still that your employer determines the market, and depending on where you go, because you know what saved the New York Giant punter was one of us, because there was no video. Fact versus reality. When we see something, our fact becomes totally real because now we can see it. That hurt Ray Rice more than anything. I think without the video, everybody would have had an opinion of what happened, yada, yada, yada. That video hurt him. There's no video of this punter. There's no video. Well, there's video of Chuck, your favorite guy, Zeke Elliott. So the NFL probably has to do something because there's video. There's no video of the fight, of the last fight. Fact versus reality. When we start talking about stuff, why is it we negate other people's facts because we don't like them? What Vic said, like it or not, was Vic's reality. What I tell you guys, like it or not, it's still my reality. Like I said, me and Ernest, me and Chuck, because I'm still waiting y'all to tell me a second teamer who brought controversy and stayed around. Look at Tim Tebow, a second teamer who didn't bring necessarily controversy, but he brought a lot of extra media attention that wasn't warranted. So nobody wanted him anymore. Where's Tebow? In baseball. That is the point. Tebow, with all his charisma and fan favor, because he was going to bring money, he was not worth it as a second teamer, or actually third teamer, because he was a super screw. So if Ray Lewis wanted to get back in the league, he said, no. Ray Lewis already, that's a whole separate issue. That's a whole separate issue. But he didn't offer an opinion on Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis got into TV. But what Ray Lewis did, thank you, Odessa, Ray Lewis did what a lot of people do when they get in trouble. And Fraud, you should know this. He started becoming religious, which was kind of his fallback on. Some people went for it, some people didn't. No, both Rays. But Ray already didn't. Ray Rice didn't have a shot because he had the video. Fact versus reality. You can see that. Hey, Alexis. Hey, Ariane Santino. But why is it that we don't want to value other people's opinion? And see, the reason I like some of y'all is because of the fact that we don't always have to agree. See, like, slow your roll. But that's it. Because somebody offers something, why do we dog them for the way they see things? I don't know everything Farad's been through, nor Chuck, nor Kev, nor Ernest. So how can I say whether what they're saying is legitimate or not? As a cop, there were things that I did that I would never tell other cops to do. But in my world, they worked perfectly for me. I wouldn't tell everybody to do them. For who to get a job, Farad? Don't, Farad, you know I'm gonna see you this weekend, right? Let's not have to fight. Oh, not because of the fight. Because he pulled that girl's top down and he keep doing stuff. That's why he gonna be punished. Arrogance is gonna get Zeke because right now he's acting like he better system. But what I can do is give you my perspective. Right. And that's all Vic was doing, was giving his perspective, and everybody took it and ran with it. He didn't say he got to it. Vic offered his opinion. When you ask me stuff, when we talk about some of the cop killings, all I can do is offer you my opinion. You haven't agreed with all my insight, but I'm telling you from the inside, and we had this conversation we're going to get into about why it's so hard to convict cops. Because everybody wants this charge that you can't prove, but it satisfies the public. But it's an unprovable charge based on the law. That's a fact. Now, reality is that these cops are killing people. Black, white, right now we know they're killing everybody. That's a fact. The reality is some of the killings aren't murders. So, if I'm telling you, for some of them, once I see the charge that the state is putting out, the case is unwinnable because the facts of the case won't meet the legal requirement. Even though what we see looks like, we don't know the law. So the same process, we see this with Kaepernick going on. We see what we think with Vic, but we don't know everything that's going on. So we start judging based on our limited source of information. When I tell you about the law, I'm looking in a book and I'm reading what the law says. I ain't giving you no hyperbole or what I think. I'm just reading what the law says. So I can tell you based on what the law says whether this is a crime or not, based on the charge that the state is leveling, which is why I've said for some of the cop killings, the right charge was aggravated assault or involuntary manslaughter, not murder, based on the code section. So we get into this, everybody has a perspective. And if all I give is your opinion, and I ain't basing it on nothing else, we all got a right to an opinion. But if I've lived it, walked it, talked it, my opinion means more in my world because, hey, this is what I had to do to change my image. Let's take out all extraneous stuff. This is what I had to do. The things, and let's just apples to apples, oranges to oranges. The things you had to do to win for you to win Courtney, ain't the same things that everybody could do. They work for you. So if you were given a book on how to win over Courtney, they work for you. They may not work for me because some of those things that you did, probably one of us is not good at. So you're still giving your opinion based on what you went through. And that's all I'm saying. When people give them, why do we feel the need to negate where their system comes from because we don't like it? It worked for them. And that's all we can say, is it worked for them. End of story. Look at the whole thing. He said more than that. That's just the one something that we harp on. And if that's his thought process, that's his thought process. The point being, Farad, is that Kaepernick ain't said nothing. He ain't answered no other questions. He ain't answered nobody else who said he asked for too much money. He ain't answered nobody who said his skill set ain't the same. He only chose to swing back at Vic. A judgment is an opinion. So that's all I'm saying. Is why ain't he answered none of his other critics? Vic wasn't his first critic, and Vic still wasn't a critic. Vic just said, hey, I think if he does this, yada, yada, yada. Vic's thoughts are Vic's thoughts. We talk about fact versus reality. Here's the one for you now. I got your attention. If Donald Trump gets impeached, would this be a better country or a worse country? I don't do Twitter. Will we be better or worse with Trump? Stay focused. Stay with me now. Stay with me. If Trump got impeached, would the country be better off? Yes or no? To everybody who watching. To all y'all, he ain't my president because he's still the president. So that's a reality whether we like it or not. We better off. How many of y'all think we'd be better off without Trump? No, but we're gonna have that talk this weekend because I got something else that we need to discuss. Chuck, you think we'll be worse? Right, because a lot of people want Trump impeached, but Mike Pence, in my opinion, is way worse than Trump. He's smarter, he's way more devious, and he's just an evil bastard in my opinion. So, everybody holler impeach Trump. If he get impeached and you got a devil as president now. If Trump gets impeached, you get the devil. But everybody keeps saying we want Trump impeached, we want him to go. And what your grandmama say? Be careful what you ask for. This is part of the fact versus reality something. Yeah, Trump is what Trump is. Trump is stupid. He's stupid, but he does have a game plan. And his game plan is financial gains. And he's doing it because the stock market did what it did. Most of us aren't stock market people. But I've watched and I've talked to a few people. I know people who are maximizing their financial growth through the stock market right now. Because most of the tax cuts they want will improve people who know how to run the stock market. Fortunately, most of us don't. But he's doing something. Mike Pence is a whole different animal. Mike Pence, you ever seen the meme that says, Don't be, even though the lion and the tiger are soon to be the king of the beast, remember, the wolf never performs in a circus. Mike Pence is a wolf. Donald Trump is the lion. He's the king of the beast right now because he's the president. But Pence is the one that you can't tame. It's easy to piss off Donald Trump. All you gotta do is say something smart about him, and he'll run to Twitter and do whatever it is, because all he does is Twitter and respond to people and threaten people. Mike Pence is thedevil.com. So when people always say, "Oh, we need to get rid of Trump," and do what? And let Mike Pence run the country? Let Mike Pence run the country. Be careful what you ask for. So, it's 7:09. And y'all got me rolling. Right, Pence is a wolf. He works than a wild. Pence cannot be tamed. But people who don't know don't get it. And once again, and this is the show, facts versus reality. The fact is that for most of us, Trump is not great. Pence is way worse. But there's that moral minority who Pence would be a savior for. Fact versus reality. They can teeter on the same line, but depending on our view, it's a whole wave thing. And this is all I'm saying. When we do things, when we look at a bigger picture, no matter what it is, whether it's me saying how I feel about us calling each other niggas and bitches or whatever, all we can speak from is our perspective. Like I said, me and Farad, me and Courtney, they family. Chuck, we disagree on a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff. We can exchange heated debates about these things. Doesn't change perspective. It just means I get to hear a different perspective and add to my knowledge base, or an exchange in dialogue. But I ain't gonna never say that Farad is suffering from a syndrome because he has his lifestyle, which is different from mine. So he sees things that way. I see things that way. It just means we got different views, which is how you become better. But you have to have different views and understand where different people can come from, because some things are generational. My generation understands certain things that the next generation doesn't, and the generation before me didn't. So we gotta incorporate all those perspectives to understand the true meaning of how certain things can come across. I mean, there are people who, because I'm still doing the 2 ways thing, who are saying they understand business because this is a business decision. Business typically isn't as racist as we think, because business, technically speaking, he didn't. No, I didn't say he said it. I was just saying he mentioned it. No, I ain't never said, because he never mentioned Vic's name. I saw that part. But once again, it got us, because I was actually just reading Facebook, how people start saying it without valuing Mike Vic's opinion or his life experiences. Those were real. His experiences were real and factual. They weren't ours, so we don't know everything he went through. We don't know who talked to him on the record, off the record, who did it for sure, or whatever. All I'm saying is he offered from his own perspective. And at some point, all of us suffer from some form of, I ain't gonna say Stockholm syndrome, but from something. Whether we were scared of our parents, or we all have something. And it affects how we view things or say things. But they're still ours. And nobody can negate them because of whatever the experience was. If veterans don't like loud noises, doesn't mean they're scary. It just means they have flashbacks when they start hearing bangs and boom. No, but understand that this whole thing, I was just using the Cap Vic thing to talk about realities and facts and how people perceive them, and they don't want to give them value. Now, whether Vic is right or wrong, it's still his opinion, and they're based on his facts and realities. Whether Cap is right or wrong, based on his experiences. My biggest issue with Cap, as I said in the beginning, is that he's not a registered voter. So to me, that takes away a lot of his credibility when he says he wouldn't vote for so-and-so or so-and-so. Well, technically, you wouldn't vote for him because you couldn't vote for him, because you never registered. Which means a lot of what you're saying to me is falling deaf ears, because you can't even affect change until you register to vote. Now, if you choose not to vote because the candidates are crappy, I'm with you again. But if you don't even register to vote, even if there's a great candidate, there's nothing you can do about it. That was my issue with Cap. Well, that was my biggest issue. I have another one, but that's mine too. So, and that's all I was saying with that. No, I want you to hush. It is this weekend too, right? Saturday, I think we said. But yeah, and that's all I'm saying with that is I want us to not devalue people so much on their opinion unless it's something crazy. Now, if it's something crazy or they shoot with no factual data, nothing to fall back on, they just saying, oh, I think this for no reason whatsoever. I think this, and you ask them why, because that's just how I feel. But what are you basing it on? I just feel like this. Okay, well, those people kind of easy to cut off. Obama didn't do the greatest job he could have done. Nobody does. We can always find something. No. Chuck. It takes a little bit more than that. He can register and be registered and then say that as a registered voter. You can't tell me you're gonna sign up to do something. I'm gonna sign up to be a football coach. Either you already got everything you need and you can go do it. If you got to take some of that process, to me you lose credibility. Anybody can start the process. You need to have the process already started, then go there. It's kind of like getting a driver's license. It only takes a few minutes, but you don't have one. So when you want to drive my car, or you want to tell me, well, let me go up here and I'm gonna get. No, you need to have a license to drive my car, not in reverse. I'm always believe that, Chuck. You got to have a license before you can drive the car. Not get the car, then get the license. No. So, what was crazy for and these are my first thoughts about what time is it? Yeah, 7:15. These are my first thoughts about the Minnesota shooting. Y'all know now I ain't gonna give a definitive nothing because I ain't seen enough. I heard what most of you guys heard. I saw what most of you guys saw. The best thing I saw was one of the definitions of homicide. Homicide meant that the person died in an unnatural way. Does not mean murder. Now, before I quit being a chump, you come on the show to call stuff. So I still want it. Okay. Now everybody gonna harp on the fact that the black-white thing, which I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But this ain't gonna be a black and white issue. And for all that's when we talk, remember this when we talk Saturday. I want to explain the first killing in Minnesota, so that when me and you talk, you'll understand why I'm pushing you in a certain way before you get to certain things. Because emotional outbursts won't weigh in legally, the same as factual data. And with us being from Georgia, and this is why I have people with Georgia who say this, because the old lady on Neal Street was black. Those cops got convicted. So we can't arbitrarily say that black cops don't ever get convicted, or people who kill blacks don't get convicted. They do. So I have a problem when people from Georgia say that, because we're proof. Now, what happens in other states, I'm not as up to speed on, but Georgia I can speak better about. White cops have been convicted of killing. Black cops have been convicted of killing. I can speak of Georgia. What's going on in Alabama, Ohio, Tennessee? I don't keep up with those like that. So they didn't charge him with murder, which is the best thing going. You should never charge a cop with murder ever in the beginning, because the proof, the level of proof is way too much. You got to show that he started off with intent. The first good thing that they did, and I don't know if it was because of Castro or whatever, but is they looking at homicide. And again, homicide means that the person died in an unnatural way. It wasn't from natural. They didn't die old age. They didn't die in a natural way. That's what homicide means up Minnesota. Best statement so far. See, so whoever's running this ain't just running off the cuff and giving emotional statements. They define and stuff. And it ain't that they setting you up for nothing, because this should be the standard. They're not setting you up to say that he's going to walk or he's going to be convicted. They are setting you up for say, hey, we are about to start an investigation. But with the case, they are focusing. But most time they do focus negative on the cop, because it's just easy to focus negatively on the cops. How are they putting it in the press? You're right, because they're learning from experience. And I've said this before on other shows. The first thing you want to do if you want to convict a cop, really, is you can't make it so public Because you giving the defense time to set up everything that you want to do, and you're tainting the jury pool. Because as people become emotional, and anybody who's ever served on the jury can tell you now, when you get in that jury room and they give you a list of instructions that don't sound nothing like the free world, your whole world changes. So some stuff you got to start cutting off. You got to start cutting off some information so that you take the emotions out of people, so that people don't look and say, oh, that's what this happened. Because if you don't understand the law, you miss out on a lot. And like I said, I haven't researched I haven't researched Minnesota law at all for murder, manslaughter, none of that. Because I just need to see more. Right. Cop shot the bride who called 911. Yeah, I want to say it happened yesterday morning or night before last. Oh, it's big. It's big. White lady. The cop looks like he's black. So, people already say, oh yeah, he gonna get this, he gonna get that because it's black white. But if you do your research, you'll see that the cop looks black. If you do your research, you'll see that Alabama had, I want to say 2 or 3 black officers to kill unarmed white kids. So I can't even go for the racial issue because I've done more research than just what the media gives me. Because the media gives you what they give you because they want the instant reaction. They want people to come up and say this and that and start speaking. I don't want to say unintelligent, but they speak unknowingly because they don't understand the law. And as we, Farad, Courtney, as we separate into subgroups, and y'all tell y'all people, when y'all got questions, I'm going to tell you why certain things can happen legally and can't happen so that y'all can explain them. Or if you need somebody to come in, this is what you have got to do when you truly do have a bad cop who made a bad, wrong, felonious decision. And you guys seen, I want to say it's the DeKalb County, with the cop who's beating the woman up with the baton. And I want to say she was shoplifting or something. See, I saw that. I was asked about that. Oh, what he did was wrong. Once again, may look wrong. He was guilty. Only thing I can say he's guilty of right now is use of force. He used too much force. But right now what he did is suspendable. It's suspendable because I don't know how he was trained. And the fact that it seems to happen a lot in DeKalb could indicate one or two things: negligent training or negligent entrustment. Those are legal things that you have to know about. So if the cop was trained a certain way, which is why I go back, and a lot of agencies now, they kind of, I'm not their favorite person because I'm pushing more on training, not just book training, but role playing, so they understand certain things happen once you get into the physical aspects of your job. So if he wasn't trained properly, what he did was what he was trained to do. Now, if he was trained properly, it's a whole different animal. A whole different animal. But you got to look at his training first. Now, with the Minnesota guy, and I'm gonna do a little research and find out what their laws are. See, in Georgia, I'm gonna give you a for instance in Georgia. In Georgia, in order for me to pull my gun out on somebody and pull the trigger, fear of my life is not one of those things. I have to have reasonable and articulable, which means I can write down why I felt my life was in jeopardy. Not why I was scared. Why I felt like my life was in jeopardy. And it has to be something that makes sense to regular people, not cops. Why I pulled my gun out has to make sense to cops. Why I shot has to make sense to regular people. Well, it's more than that based on this thing. That's why the numbers make no sense to me sometimes, Chuck. So those are the two standards. Pulling the gun, police officers have to understand, because that's I'll get into that when I do my Law and Order series. But while I pull the trigger, regular people have to understand. Hey, Cinnamon Brown. Hey, Robert Stafford. Hey, Cuzzo. Hey, Skip. To pull the trigger. No, you gotta remember on this page, even though it says that number for some reason, Odessa, Chuck, Farad, Courtney. See, y'all are here, but it just says one for some reason. I ain't never figured that out. But anyway, to pull the trigger, he would have had to prove why he felt like his life was in danger. not why he was scared. Being scared never works for cops. Don't. That's why when they say that phrase, that's your first attackable phrase. Oh, I was scared. Who cares? I was a cop. You spend the bulk of your career being afraid. It's not a reason to shoot. Somebody has to put me in real jeopardy. They had to pull a knife and turn toward me. Pulling the gun and going in the opposite direction does not put me in fear. Now, if there are other people that way, I can say I'm defending them, because somebody who is aggressive with a weapon is going that way. You always late to the party, Robert. That's that bankhead of you. We talking about facts versus reality, but now we're on the Minnesota shooting. So as things come out, we'll learn more, and I can give you a more informed, real answer. No opinions, but I can tell you based on the law. No, these 4 people on this page. Robert is on this page. Chuck is on this page. Odessa, you're on this page. Farad and Courtney on this page. Odessa. Now on the other page is another group of people. But this thing says 3, but I just named 5. Stay focused. But I'll be able to give you guys a detailed thing as to why not, once more information comes out, why he is guilty of this or not guilty of that. Because right now, like the man said, it's a homicide. The lady didn't die of natural causes. She died from a gunshot wound. Why he pulled the gun, why he pulled the trigger. Oh yeah, but see, Robert just came over here. But those just popped up, so they haven't said anything yet. What's up, Ray? See now. But then I'll give you my legal perspective. But it's based on the law, not my impression, not my thought, not my what should have been done. Because some things go strictly to training and supervision. And that's the system. All right, Jordan, be safe out there. That's the system. So what are we looking at? 7:25. I am staying focused. You want to keep telling me what I'm doing? I'm supposed to speak to everybody. That's what y'all told me. So I'm waiting to see what he says. I'm waiting to see what else they'll release, because I want to know because I'm not even sure what the call was. I mean, I got the snippets, but I was busy doing some other things, so I haven't read everything yet. But I remember the first Minnesota shooting. I was with some police chiefs who said that it was murder, and I said it's not. So why can they charge the darker complexion officer with how? But that's my point, Chuck. Murder should never be the charge initially unless you can prove a lot of different things. But because sometimes we get so up in arms that DAs or whoever it is, the powers that be, want to appease the public, they overcharge, which means the officer's going to walk. And you got to keep the public out of it so that everybody can do their job. Charging with murder, proving murder on a cop is an extremely difficult task, because there's a lot more you got to prove with a cop than you have to do with a regular person. So because you could always upgrade or downgrade, but when you charge for the public, a lot of times you charge them wrong, and you're ensuring that officer's going to walk. It's like I was saying, remember now, regardless. No, but it's not. A lot of times it's the charge that the people want. And if there's going to be a conspiracy, to me, there's the conspiracy, but that's an opinion. Okay, like I'm gonna watch the whole thing. So if she called about an assault, that can explain partially why he had a gun out. But if Minnesota is like 90% of the country, if she called about an assault, which is a felon, there should have been 2 officers there. Most places, it's a requirement that you can't go to a felony call alone. You can't even do a felony stop by yourself. Assault is a felony. So once again, are we going to be having a departmental issue, or is it going to be an officer issue? It sounds good, but the people are the ones who do all the screaming and crying about what's justice and what's not. And see, that's where we have to take the emotions out of it. And I try to tell people, don't get so caught up into this that you force them to do something that they can't win, because that's normally what happens. That's why a lot of officers get off, because they charge officers what the people want. Oh yeah, he charged with murder. Da, 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 da. And the system won't work like that. The DA, you remember now, DAs are elected officials. So if a DA undercharges so that he can win, people are going to be, why didn't you go for this? Why didn't you go for that? And they won't listen to the answers because they really don't care. They just want to know why you didn't get this guy. Why you didn't get this guy? You locked Ray Ray up for murder, but you didn't lock Officer Smith up for murder. The facts of the case are not the same. The end result is the same, that somebody died, but the fact of how they got there changes. And that's where common people don't want to listen to reality. They want to say that there's a conspiracy or there's this or there's that. And sometimes it's just simple facts, simple evidence. It's easy to convict Ray Ray murder because he ran off telling everybody he was going to go kill somebody. The officer didn't say those things. Whether it was his intent or not, certain things just come into play. Hopefully white folks see now that innocent people are dying at the hands of poorly trained or just Mr. Chicken cops, and now Trump has given them power to take property based on their own assessment. Well, let me just say this: Trump can't override the Constitution. The Constitution still says what the Constitution says. The Fourth Amendment rights will always be there, and that's where a lot of times people get caught up in the system. The Constitution is there. It takes an act of Congress to change the Constitution. Constitution ain't changing no time soon. So as far as search and seizure goes, some things will always be in place. They're universal. I can go to any state and my Fourth Amendment right is the exact same. Search and seizure is the same everywhere I go. So there are certain things, because I've done this, that I know to be factual, so I don't have to quote what I saw on TV or something. So those things aren't the same. So what you have to look at is his training. And the first thing I really got to take a look at is why was he there by himself? Because if he was there by himself, that goes into negligent training, which is his supervisor, and negligent entrustment, which is management. See, now if those two fail him, he has a fallback, which is why you got to be careful about charging people. Because if he says, I was ordered to go there, and they didn't supply this, that gives him a simple defense, which means he's suspendable because he violated the policy. And that's what you got to look at when you start talking about cops doing wrong. Did they violate a policy, or did their supervisor violate them? And until you get around those little issues, those are important things that you have to remember anytime you start investigating cops doing wrong. Because this 911 call is a public call, which means it went out over the air. Dispatchers, only thing they do is put it out over the air. They don't call for a specific officer 9 times out of 10. They put the call out and officers respond. So if they put out a 911 call saying there's an assault at a place, and let's just say one unit decides to answer, the supervisor on duty should make sure that this one officer is not going alone. This one officer also has a responsibility that once he gets there to wait for backup. These are facts in most places. There are a few places where this ain't happening because you got some towns that don't have a lot of people. So 2 officers ain't happening no day, no way. That's why I say it's 90%. Because in Atlanta, Fulton County, yeah, you got enough officers to always have 2 officers go. Some of these little rural towns where they only got 5 or 6 officers, 2 people are not going. Sometimes they don't even have 2 people on duty for a shift. Those are the things you got to look at first before you determine what the officer did wrong. Did he fail the department or did the department fail him? And these are the intricacies that you have to look at. So when you got these activists who marching and saying, this is wrong, that's wrong, what's wrong? I have to tell you what was wrong first before we can get to who is wrong. Did the system fail us, or did the cop fail us, or did we fail both of them? Because most of these policies are public knowledge. All you do is ask for them. That will give you a lot of detail. And that's why I say, people say, oh, Bear, you just defending cops. It's not that I'm defending cops. I'm just telling you what the system says, whether I like it or not. I know when I was a sheriff, if I answer a felony call by myself, the policy is clear. 2 officers. Can you arrest a cop under a citizen's arrest? No. Under citizen's arrest, you can only arrest a citizen, and I think the law says they have to be committing a felony, which means you shouldn't be arresting them because they're violent. I think if you're a stolen, you can arrest somebody for shoplifting or something like that and hold them for the cops. There's a few things you can make citizens arrest for, because technically all arrests are citizens arrest. Even as a cop, you have an additional duty where I can take them to the jail. If you arrest somebody robber, you can't take them to intake like I could. I got direct access. The law says if you tell me something because you're not an officer of the court, I can't take your testimony. I can take yours at face value. I can't make yours factual as far as my evidence other than what you're saying. But if I tell another cop let's just say I tell a cop that I have a warrant for you, he can arrest you based on the fact that I said that. If you tell me you got a warrant on Odessa, legally speaking, I still need to see your warrant because you're not a cop. You're not an officer of the court. It's a small play on words. But no, arresting a cop, arresting a cop is so different in a lot of places, even though we cheat the system. Because even for the sheriff, for some reason, the only people who can arrest a sheriff, not a deputy, the sheriff, is a medical examiner or the coroner, and it's somebody else. But technically, a basic cop can't arrest a sheriff. He doesn't have the power. And those are little things. But no, simple answer to your question, Rob, no, you can't arrest a cop. Even if he's not on duty. Not under citizen's arrest. You can file a complaint, you can take out a warrant, but you can't make the physical arrest. It's just not the way it works. Whew, goodness. Y'all are hyperactive today. And this is Poway because nobody still ain't sent me no tequila. And it's mixed with nothing. I don't even have anything to eat. Courtney, Odessa. I'm just saying, Kativa. I don't have any food. Why'd you let me ask you this when you could have just asked me this? Go ahead, what's your question? I don't know why you asked while I was drinking. That's the only bad thing about news feeds. I'm not sure where we are, how y'all hear me versus how y'all typing. Let's see what Chuck Taylor's gonna ask me, my little brother. But yeah, when you see bad cops, I tell people, call me. If he's doing something wrong, I'm gonna tell you the proper steps to make. I don't have any use for bad cops, but a bad cop versus a bad policy are two separate things. I've had friends call me while the cops were at their door, asking me what could they do. Do I have to let him in? No, you don't have to. Now, if he tell you he got a warrant, he coming in anyway 9 times out of 10. But now you don't have to open the door. Now, if a cop stops me and he physically assaults me, do I have the right to defend myself? What does physical assault you mean? Because technically putting the cuffs on you is a physical assault. If he stops you. And before we get into anything, what was the stop for? Before anything happens, and this is what I tell cops, the stop has to be legal. Okay. Let me give you this. There are two types of police citizens encounters. One is I encounter you as officer friend. I see you on the street. I just be like, hey, guy, what's going on? How you doing? Which means you don't have to talk to me or nothing like that. But if I stop you for a legal reason, hey, Mr. Taylor, I'm stopping you for speeding, yada, yada, yada. That means I'm stopping you on the legal auspices. I'm being an authority figure. I'm not being just Joe on the street. If the stop is legal, then I got the right. If he stops you from being on the corner and says, okay, if you stand on the corner and I walk up to you and say, how you doing, sir? Can I see your ID? I have no legal authority to do that. I have no legal authority to even put my hands on you. If I touch you while doing that, legally speaking, that's an assault because I have no right to touch you. Now, if I say, hey, sir, how you doing? I'm here because we got reports of guys being on the street selling drugs, yada, yada, yada. I'm telling you why I'm stopping you. And it is illegal to sell drugs. I'm giving you the spiel. Right now, you don't know if I got reports. That's just what I'm telling you. So right now, you kind of have to go with me on that one. You can later find out if there were reports, but initially, yeah, you have to stop and talk to me then. It's called investigative detention. So it just depends on what he says before he puts his hands on you. And this is what I tell you now. It's illegal. It's not illegal. It's wrong for me to say, do you know why I stopped you? Because this is not multiple choice. Whenever a cop stops you, he's legally supposed to tell you why you're being stopped, detained, withheld, whatever it is, if it's a legal stop. Like I said, if we just stopping, for instance, I was at my job the other day, and a lady drove up in a car that I wanted to see. So I waited for her to get out, and I asked her I said, hey, you mind if I talk to you for a second? And she's like, did I do something wrong? I said, no, man, I just want to ask you about your car. But I didn't want to walk over to your car until you said it was okay. But you have a nice car, and I'm thinking about getting one. Can I look at it? I don't want to look inside. I just want to look at it. And she's like, okay. And she came back over there with me. She said, you want me to open the door? I was like, I mean, I want to see it, but, you might have something, and I ain't trying to work. And she started laughing. But I had to tell her all of this. So she know that I wasn't doing any of this in my official capacity. If he throws you on the wall, I ask him what I did. See, if you had to ask him what you did, he's already violated you. He should have told you what you did prior to doing anything else. Like I said, if you get stopped by... Remember we got stopped the other day, and the first thing the officer did was tell you why he stopped you? That's legal. I can't stop you and not tell you why. Man, what I do, you don't get asked no questions. The stop is illegal. The law is clear on that. I have to tell you why I stopped you. I shouldn't introduce myself, even though I'm in uniform or whatever. I still should say I'm Officer So-and-so with whatever department. The reason I stopped you is this. And go from there. Hey, Julie McMillian. Antonio Brown. What's happening? So... But like I said, I'm going to get back on the Law and Order. I'm going to do those in little snippets. I think I can do those in little 5-minute clips. But yeah, as far as putting his hands on you for something, even with the whole resisting arrest or obstruction, you can't resist if I'm not telling you that I'm doing something legal. Like I said, I can't just, unless I think you, now don't get me wrong, I'm going to give you the twist. Let's just say I think you're a violent felon. I may walk up on you and do everything then because something is telling me you're a violent felon. Because if I think I did have the occasion to walk up on a murderer or two, there's no official introduction. It's just straight violence. We hit them, take them to the ground, and cuff them. Then I tell them everything after the fact. But honestly speaking, if they resist before I tell them something, I can't. I've never charged somebody with obstruction who resisted me before I had a chance to tell them if they met the violent criteria. If you meet the violent criteria, you're not getting the speech until after the fact. But then can it be word against word? Absolutely. Which is why so many cops with body cameras now, and you got evidence and stuff. But the thing is the charge. If he throws you up against the wall and punch you, what is he charging you with? Does his level of violence meet the crime that you're being charged with? See, when I'm locking up murderers, I locked up 2 murderers on the street. The level of violence that I perpetuated toward them met their crime. Now, if I'm after you because you got a warrant for fishing without a license, it shouldn't be a physical altercation unless you swing at me first. But I shouldn't just walk up to you and try to catch you from behind and, give you that TJ Hooker tackle for fishing without a license. So a lot of it is based on the charge. Like I said, sometimes I see people saying, oh man, they did this to me. One of my Facebook friends said that she got stopped for not having insurance. How do I know you ain't got insurance? So no stop can be for not having insurance. Your stop has to be for something else. Now it's possible that while you running by me, because I run tags, I'm just running tags, because that's how you check see if cars are stolen. You run tags, pop up, this is an uninsured car. So I guess conceivably it could have been, but 9 times out of 10 most people don't do that. But we know some cops right, but that's why I tell people cops do overplay the authority role, and some of them physical. But before you do something, it's unless you know the system, it's really not worth fighting ahead of time. But if you feel like they did, I tell people all the time. Like I said, I could name people who have reached out to me and I've told them what it is they need to do, how to go about getting everything and lining things up. But you can't get emotional about it and start calling names because you just play into the hands of being the like you seen, you watch Power and you see how they was doing with the FBI guy, making him be the agitated, the angry black male, and that's what we have to avoid in order to make these work for us. You don't want to be that guy because then you're easy to manipulate if I can get you to be more emotional than logical. And that's why I tell people these are things you can do to get around the system. And when I teach, I always tell people what you're doing. You don't have anything to hide from the average person. Like I said, when it's a murderer I'm looking for, somebody who is known to have weapons, oh, the rules definitely change. They're not getting no speeches up front. We're not doing a whole lot of talking to everybody safe and secure in handcuffs. That's just a system. But the law says I can do that too. But as realistically speaking, as much as we don't like child molesters, I don't have a right to punch child molesters. They're not violent. They really aren't. I mean, as depraved as they may be in my world, they don't rise to the level of violence to subdue them. They haven't done anything that says that they're violent. They're just predatory. Some predators are just the mental figures. Can I walk up to them and start punching them? No. But for the guy who's wanted for murder, we passed each other on the street. Was I wrong for punching him was I wrong for punching him? No. I needed him to do something with his hands because I couldn't see him. When I hit him, I knew he was going to defend himself. Got to see his hands. Boom. So if white cop calls me... all depends on how much money you got to spend. Honestly speaking, Chuck. So the Minnesota cop had a partner. Cool. Shoot me a link on my inbox if you can, Odessa. If he calls you that, then I would say at the point it's just words. I would say let him ride. You've been called that before. Exchanging names with authority figures. Look at him. If he has a body camera on, sure. If the lights and sirens are on, because chances are the whole thing is being recorded. But I would say it's not even worth it. Just let him be the unprofessional one. It makes your case that much stronger. I would say if I were you and the cop walked up to me and said that, I would ask the question, why I gotta be all that? Why I gotta be F and N? I'm just gonna repeat back what he said for audio perspective to see what I'm getting, so they can hear what I'm hearing in case he's mumbling inaudibly for them. Because I want all this to be on tape. Why I gotta be a F and N? Why I gotta be this? Why you gotta keep calling me names? So why you so unprofessional? I want to show how calm I am in the fact that he's trying to agitate me. It's how the game is played. But knowing you're gonna say what you just said. So, and that's a good thing. Thank you, Odessa, for bringing that up. But yeah, that is part of the system. You're supposed to be a partner. But I know I didn't say anything about a partner in the snippets that I saw. Right. Now, the body cam not being on, see, that could be a systematic problem because that depends on if it's something wrong with the system. Is it something they're used to doing? And I give you an example. There were 2 cops in New Orleans who had body cameras. I want to say it's New Orleans, maybe it wasn't. But anyway, there were two different cops who, whenever they did something, whenever they were getting to do something illegal, because when you cut the siren and the lights on, the camera comes on. So what they would do is raise the hood of their car so you couldn't see anything. So they could do whatever they wanted to, and as long as they were quiet, you couldn't see anything. That's what they were doing. That was habitual. But they weren't doing it for every car. They were just doing it in certain neighborhoods. But this only came about when they investigated because somebody complained about what they were doing. And they asked for the video. And you can see them raising the hood. So the investigators went back and looked at how many times his hood was raised. So this led them to more stuff and seeing the pattern of behavior for these guys. So a lot of times, because most cops are kind of smart, so they know how to use the system to their advantage. Cops in jails, they learn where the cameras are, as you've seen on Power, which is true. You learn which cameras work and don't work, where you can and can't do stuff. So a lot of times it's just about being cool, calm, and collected. And sometimes you have to take a little abuse to get your point across. You can't fear that system. Which cop was in the passenger side? I'm not understanding your statement, Odessa. So yeah, like I said, when you give me the scenarios, I can give you more. But sometimes you have to accept the fact that cooler heads will prevail. But most bad cops, don't like when you hit them with factual data about what they're supposed to be doing. The good cops don't care. If I see these videos, cop was shut down by a citizen who knew this. Well, I like people who do that because I want to make sure they know the right law. Because I had people who try to tell me things about their constitutional rights for this, the constitutional rights don't allow you to say whatever. You have freedom of speech, but you can't use fighting words or words that put people at risk. You can't yell fire in a crowded building. You can't just walk up to somebody and say, I'm going to bust you in your head because you got freedom of speech. Those are aggressive words. You say those words. There's a right to defend myself. I don't have to wait for you to hit me if you already tell me that you're going to hit me. So freedom of speech does not apply to everything. And so when people think they can say anything, and the popular phrase is F you, which, legally speaking, when you tell me to F me if I'm in uniform, it's a sexual act. Sex is illegal in the state of Georgia except for 2 married people, yada, 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 which means I can arrest you for that. It's profane and abusive language and a solicitation. Just because you said the F word. Minnesota cop was in the passenger side and shot her over here. Oh, so he was in the car when he shot? Well, dang. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do some research. Like I said, if you inbox me the link, or shoot it to my phone, but don't put it here because I ain't gonna look back at this for a second. What about that for who? Terroristic threats. In most places, for terroristic threats to exist, you have to have a witness. That's what most people want. Somebody else who heard this if it wasn't taped. Which is why I like text messages. Because if you call me and say it, and I say, well, he said this, they're going to ask me, did anybody else hear it? Because, of course, you're going to deny it. So, yeah. Terroristic threats. So, and like I said, you learn your judges and you learn your districts. But it's 10 till. As always, I've enjoyed my time with you guys. I promise when August hits, I'm gonna start doing the little Law and Order snippets. I ain't sure. I'm gonna probably do them. I don't know where I'm gonna do them yet, but I'm gonna do those. And keep you guys up to speed on what's legal and what's not legal in most of the states. And you still have to check your state laws. Like I said, I know Georgia because it's where I'm from. It's what I've studied. I also know the Constitution, which applies to every state. So I'm going to give you a little of both. But some things are purely jurisdictional. If I said that to a cop, no, if you say like that, if you say FU, see, that's different. That's solicitation. FOH is not. Hey, Melinda, what time? You always get here late. It starts at 6 to 8. Hey, Melinda, 6 to 8 every Wednesday. You gotta put the thing on there, the follow, to let you know when to get notifications. Every Wednesday, 6-ish. Hey, leave Melinda alone. She good people. Her husband crazy, but she good people. Yeah, they were just giving me some details about the Minnesota thing. So, with that being said, I'm down to the last 7 minutes. So y'all know what it means. I'm gonna go take care of some business. Once again, if you got questions, comments, or concerns, inbox me on either page. I will answer your questions. If I need to do a show on them, I will. Like, I'm gonna start doing some Law and Order snippets, just to give you guys some things that you should know about cops, what they can do, what they can't do, what you have to do when you don't have to listen to them. I'm gonna give you that. But sometimes I get overwhelmed and I have a lot of things on my plate. So sometimes you guys have to remind me or remind my management team, who is excellent. Go ahead with your question, Chuck. Chuck is part of my management. Odessa, Ray, Natalie, John L. You know, if you're friends with them, send them a question for me. I won't use your name. I'll just use your scenario. And I'll answer your question as best I can, even if it means I have to take a minute to look it up. What's your question, Chuck? Before I go, does this include turkey jerky or deviled eggs? I'm so distracted. I hate when people say they got a question. Why not just ask the question? I hate that. I hate that. With 3 passions. Melinda, where are you working now? I think I need to talk to you. No. I ain't even gonna ask why you want a bar of brown sugar. But no. Okay. Okay. See, and Melinda, planning research with me, they know a lot about policies. And I was telling them earlier with the guy in Minnesota, most policies say that there has to be 2 officers for a felony, and the car was an assault. So we were just looking at. They were giving me details about the Minnesota shooting, but most places say that. All right, so I got a couple things I got to do. Odessa, shoot me the stuff. Chuck, yeah, go to sleep. Chuck, we hit the pool table. So y'all know what it is, right? 7:55. I will see you guys in 6 days, 22 hours ish. Melinda, get here between 6 and 6. The show, I do a preamble, whatever monologue from like 6 to 6:10, 6:15 ish, and I'm in topic by 6:15. So Robert, Odessa, everybody who checked in, I appreciate you. I'll see y'all guys. Y'all know what it is. Peas, popcorn, and chicken grease. And I holla. Yes, ma'am. Sure you will.